We live. Shalom, shalom. We got the disciples of Yahushua. We getting ready to throw down for the Feast of Dedication, December the 19th, 2022. We're going to put it down for the Lord. So-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, this is our heritage. And this is your culture. And the Most High requires of you to keep His law, statutes, and commandments. Now this is what we are supposed to be celebrating here. We have the Manorah, the Rams on, we got the Yayin, the wine, we got the anointing oil, and we got the squirrels, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to put it down for the Lord. Stand up. Please, we pray. Start off with the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abba Nawah, Shabbat Shemayim, Kwadash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malak Watka, Thaba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'aratazah, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathan Lanawa, Lakam, Kau, Yawem, Basalak Lanawa, Kaweb Wath Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kaweb Wath Yenawa, Wala'a, Thaba Ya'anawa, Banasa Yawan, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayen Rai, Kayalaka, Hamalak Wath, Waha Allah, Waha, Tha'apa'arath, La'ai Walim Aman, Asha'a, Al, Haharyam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'a, Isaiah, Ma'ain, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Wa'aratazah, El Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka, El, Yanawim, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawim, Wala'a, Yashan, Shawamar, Yashar Allah, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, El Yad, Yem Yenka, Hawamim, Hashemash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Mikel Rai, Yashamar, Ethnapeshka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'athka, Wabawa'aka, Ma'aitha, Wa'id, Iwalam, Aman. All right, stand right there. I'm going to mute you. All right, so yeah, you know it's anointing time, brother, for real. Like you know, you show diligence, that you real diligent in serving the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And you deserve honor for that. You know what I'm saying? You deserve a round of applause for that, for real. Because most people say that they for the Lord, but then they fold, then they fall back into the world. You know what I'm saying? But as you begin to stay in His truth, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, they'll doubt you, they'll distance themselves from you, you know what I'm saying? But you stay close unto the Lord, you know what I'm saying? Every spirit that come upon you, you fight that spirit, right? So I'm going to say the Aaronic blessing, Numbers chapter 6, verse 24 to 27. And when I anoint you, you say your name 3 times, right? All right. Yabaraka Yahweh, Wayashamarka, Ya'al Yahweh, Pen Yahweh, El Yaka, Wayakanka, Yashar Yahweh, Pen Yahweh, El Yaka, Wayashamlaka, Shalom, Hagan, Magan, Rapa'ah, Manatazakraka, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, Tawara Aman. There you go. You anointed, brother. Like you earned it. You earned that Hebrew name. You know what I'm saying? You earned it. You know, like many people, they just find Hebrew names. Many people, they just find Hebrew names, right? And I like the name, so I'm gonna give myself the name. But you earned. This is a name that you earned. You know what I'm saying? You earned it. You ain't just give yourself this name. This name describes you, Manatazak, the conqueror of the spirit. It describes you. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna get into these scriptures.
Go to Olive.
Go ahead. We gonna get into these scriptures. Let's go to John chapter 10, verse 33. In the New Testament, John 10 and 33. John 10 and 33. You got it when you get there.
This 10 right here.
Yeah, that's 10 right there.
33.
33, the next page. Yeah, right there. Go ahead.
All right. John chapter 10, verse 33.
Go ahead.
The Jews answered him, saying, For a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, and because that thou, being a man, makest thyself God.
Salaki, my fault. Read verse 22.
Verse 22.
Go ahead.
Verse 22. And it was Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter.
So every feast day has its seasons, right? You got the springtime, which is the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You have the Feast of First Fruits, which is also in the springtime. Then you have the Memorial of the Blowing of Trumpets, right? The Day of Atonement, the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall, right? Then in the wintertime, you have the Feast of Dedications, you know what I'm saying? And then going into the spring season, you have the Feast of Purim, right? So Yahweh Shah, the Christ, our King, celebrated the Feast of Dedication, right? And the Feast of Dedications is in the winter time, which the season that we are in now. Jump down to verse 23.
Verse 23. And Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
24.
Verse 24. Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, How long dost thou make us to doubt, Salakia? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly.
So basically, Yahushua, he was celebrating a Feast of Dedications. Now, the scribes and the Pharisees, they told Yahushua, if you be the Christ, just come out and tell us plainly that you are Christ instead of, speaking of parables, because we don't understand when you speak parables. Just tell us plainly that you are the Son of the Most High. And let's go to the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1. First Maccabees, chapter 1. All right, First Maccabees, chapter 1. Start at my fault. First Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse. Start at 41.
Come.
First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41.
First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
So now you got, of course, the Hebrews were enslaved by the Grecians, right? King Antiochus, this Greek, he wrote a letter to his whole kingdom, to the whole Grecian Empire, that everyone should be one people, that everyone should keep the same laws, keep the same customs, right? Just like here in America, everybody keeps Christmas, Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, 4th of July, Easter, all of these pagan holidays, right? Everybody is one. So that's what the Greek king Antiochus, that's the law that he wrote to his whole people, right? That everybody should become one, right? Everybody should partake in the same fashions. Read on.
Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Everyone should leave his laws. The everyone that should leave his laws are the children of Israel. This is when we were enslaved under the Grecians, right? The decree that the Greek king Antiochus made, he made that so that the Jews could forsake the laws of the Most High and become just like them. We become Gentiles when we act and when we do the things that the Gentiles do. Next verse.
Verse 43. Ye many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Many of the Israelites back then, you know what I'm saying? They folded, they forsook the commandments of the Most High Power Yahweh, and they consented to the religion of the Greeks. When they consented to the religion of the Greeks, they stopped praising the Lord. They started worshiping the idols of the Greeks, right? They started partaking in the same fashion as the Greeks. So whatever you do, that's what you are. If they kept the customs of the Greeks, they were Greeks according to their actions. That is how an Israelite can become Gentiles. Yahweh Shai came for the Hebrews that did not grow up in the commonwealth of the nation of Israel, but they grew up in keeping the customs of the heathens. So Hebrews, they themselves became Gentiles. Yahweh Shai came for those Hebrews to bring them back to the fold, right? Next verse.
Verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
So the Greek king Antiochus, he sent letters by messengers, but he sent middlemen. Like, I want you to go to Jerusalem, and I want you to tell them that they're not going to keep the commandments of the Lord anymore. If they do, they're going to be put to death. They're going to die. Right? So, and also that they should follow the laws that we follow. If we worship Beckius, y'all going to worship Beckius too. You know what I'm saying? If we sacrifice unto our gods, which are idols that can't see, can't hear, can't speak, you're going to do the same exact thing, right? Because we know that as long as you disobey your God by sinning against him, that will be your ruin, and we will have power over you. And the Lord and your power, Yahweh will continue to let us overthrow you because of your being disobedient, right? Next verse.
Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Right. So that it was so bad to the point where we couldn't even keep the feast days of the Most High at all. We could not keep the feast days of the Lord. They made it illegal. They even made it illegal for us to keep the Sabbath days, right? They made it illegal for us to keep the feast days. They made it illegal for us to claim ourselves to be Jews, which is our true heritage and nationality. Read on.
Verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
And pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. These heathens, these Greeks, One thing about our enemies is that they go by to know your enemy is to study your enemy. They studied us. They studied us enough to know that if we disobey the laws of the Most High Power Yahweh, continue to be overthrown by them, and the Lord will allow it. They understood that, right? So they pushed us to be under disobedience unto the Most High, right? Because they knew that that is how they were going to have the upper hand, just like America. Esau does the same thing in America. Promote us abominable things to eat, promote homosexuality, bestiality, things like that, right? They know that as long as we break the commandments of the Lord, the Most High is not going to be with us like he was with us when we obeyed. Next verse.
Come. Verse 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Set up altars, right? And groves and chapels of idols, right? And sacrifice pig and unclean animals, right? So make like a little church hall that you could go into, and then you got the little idol, the statue right in the center, right? And you just bowing down on your knees, just praying to it, or you just offering up an unclean animal, right? On the altar that's in front of the idol. Now that idol is your God. You know what I'm saying? All of these things were done in Jerusalem. Why? Because some of the Israelites, they folded, they consented to the religion of the Greeks, to the philosophy of the Greeks. They wanted to become just like them. Just like a lot of us do today. We become just like those who oppress us. We become heathens, we become Gentiles, right? So Yahweh's death was to bring those Hebrews back who are keeping the ways of the heathens, was to bring them back into the Lord's love. That is why the Most High Yahweh gave us grace through Yahweh's death, right? Next verse.
Verse 48. That they should also lead their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Genesis 17. So yeah, basically, right? That the heathens, they know that as long as we disobey the commandments of the Most High, that will be our ruin. So they pushed for that. They even made it illegal for us to circumcise the Hebrew baby boys on the 8th day of their birth, right? When they're 8 days old. Why? So that we can be polluted, so that we can be defiled, so that we can be unclean. You know what I'm saying? So that we would not make a covenant anymore with the Most High. This is what they done, so that our souls could be defiled, so that we could be under disobedience like we are today. There's a lot of Israelites in the world that's under disobedience. What December 25th is so-called Christmas. A lot of people gonna be celebrating that. But today, man, disciples of Yahweh, this is the start of the Feast of Dedication. Some other brothers and other sisters, they started Feast of Dedications a couple days ago. Some other camps started the Feast of Dedication like 2 months ago. You know what I'm saying? But the disciples of Yahweh, we started it tonight. You know what I'm saying? Read what you got.
What verse?
11.
Verse 11.
Start at 10.
So Genesis chapter 17, verse 10. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised.
So, you know what I'm saying? This is the Lord's covenant, right? A covenant is an agreement that if you do this, then you will be my people forever, and I will be your power, right? The covenant is now how we stay in the covenant is by circumcising our Hebrew baby boys when they're 8 days old. That is how we keep the covenant, right? And the Greeks, they knew that. So in order to make us unclean and defiled and polluted, they said, look, all right, so we know that these people, if they disobey the commandments of the Lord, that's going to be their downfall. So let's just push. Let's just make a decree and say, look, if any one of you think to circumcise your Hebrew baby boy on the 8th day of his birth to keep the covenant, you're going to be put to death. Right? Read on.
Verse 11. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
So circumcising the flesh of the foreskin, that was a token, right? Meaning if we did that, we would be entering in a great covenant that the Lord made with us. We would be the Lord's chosen people, which we are, and the Lord will only be our power, which he is. He's the God of the nation of Israel. These so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, right? Now go back to First Maccabees. (48). Read that again.
Verse 48.
All right, so basically, read that again.
Verse 49. Salaki, verse 48. That they should also lead their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
49.
49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
Right. To the end that if we forsake the commandments of the Lord, that the purpose that they wanted to get us to forsake the commandments of the Lord was so that we could forget the commandments of the Most High Power Yahweh and remain in rebellion and disobedience, right? So that we could become one people just like them. Just like a lot of Hebrews in the world, they're one people with Esau. Every American holiday they celebrate it, but yet they say they love God. If you celebrate American holidays and you claim you love God, you really don't love God. You may think you know God, but the Lord knows your heart. He knows that your heart is desperately wicked. And it's not talking about the organ that pump blood, but your mind. You know what I'm saying? Where the thoughts come in at. The next verse.
Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Whosoever should not forsake the commandments of the Most High and keep the same fashions and the same customs and the culture of the Greeks, they should be put to death. So a lot of our ancestors, right, they was put to death because they didn't want to keep the customs of the heathens of the other nations. A lot of them were put to death, but a lot of them consented out of fear of being put to death. Go ahead.
Verse 51. In the self same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
So commanding the cities of Judah. Commanding the city of Judah to sacrifice. Commanding the Jews, right? To sacrifice. To make those sacrifices of unclean beasts on the altar of the idols that cannot see, cannot hear, cannot speak, right? So these Greeks, they knew their whole agenda was to get us to move away from the Lord. And when we are under disobedience unto the Most High, that is how we move away from God. Next verse.
Verse 52. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsake the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
So many people, many of the Greeks gathered upon the children of Israel that forsook, and everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. So the children of Israel, those who folded and gave in to the Greek religion, right? They forsook the commandments of the Most High Power Yahweh, and they started to do evils unto the Lord, just like we do evils unto the Lord today. There's no difference. No difference at all. We celebrate American holidays. We commit idolatry. We dabble in homosexuality. We dabble in bestiality. Every sin that's under the sun that you could think of, that is what we do. Next verse.
Verse 53. And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could fly
For secure.
for secure.
So now, the Israelites that did not fold, but that stood on the Most High's laws, they went away. They ran away from the city from persecution to keep the Lord's law, statutes, and his commandments, right? 54.
Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month, Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
Right, now the abomination of desolation, right? The Greeks had set up an altar of an idol on top of the altar of the Lord. Now, the Greeks were sacrificing unclean animals on top of the altar that was dedicated to their false god that was on top of the Lord's altar in the temple, right? And also, they had like altars and idols built it on every like corner of Jerusalem. Around Jerusalem, they had idols and altars. So where the Jews that folded, that forsook the laws of the commandment, could, make a sacrifice unto that idol by sacrificing an unclean beast on that altar, right in front of that false god. That's what they did in order to keep us under disobedience. Next verse.
Verse 55. And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets.
Go ahead.
56. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire.
So look, yeah, these heathens, man, they do whatever. They just don't like us. You know what I'm saying? These heathens not our friends, none of that, right? So the Greeks, they found the book of the law, the scrolls. They ripped them up. They burnt them, right? They burnt our records. So if you got a Bible with the Apocrypha, and if you own it, you're holding a very precious thing in your hand. So take advantage of it. Learn from what you need to learn from it. You know what I'm saying? And never let it leave your mind. Right? The next verse.
Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
Right. So if you was caught reading the scriptures, right, reading about the law, you would be put to death. Right? It's going to come. That time is going to come. Right? And the faith of the children of Israel is really going to be tested. You know what I'm saying? Next verse.
Verse 58. Thus did they, by their authority, unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities.
Go ahead.
Verse 59. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God.
Now, every month, when they found out that any Israelite was reading the scrolls about the laws of the Most High Power Yahweh, the Greeks will put them to death. They would go through slaughtering the children of Israel because we wanted to obey the Most High. even on the 25th day, even on the 25th day, right, of the month, what do we do? Sacrifice unto their false god. Put an unclean animal on their altar. Burn incense to their false god. Commit idolatry. When we celebrate American holidays, we commit idolatry, right? Now, we shall not serve other gods nor bow down to other gods, right? Nor of wood or stone or silver or gold. Shouldn't bow down to other gods. When we do so, that is idolatry. And just because a lot of you commit idolatry and you don't get stoned to death, the Lord is still going to judge you. Your sin, you're not going to go unpunished because of the sin you committed. The next verse, you got it.
Verse 60. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised.
Damn, certain women. So these women, they circumcised their Hebrew baby boys when it was 8 days old. These women, they kept Genesis chapter 17, verse 9, 10, and 11, right? They kept that. And the Greeks found out, okay, oh yeah, so they keeping the law, they just circumcised their children, put them to death. That's what the Greeks done. They put the women to death, right? The next verse.
Verse 61. And they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them.
So yeah, these, these heathens, they don't want us to serve the Most High. They'll rather put us to death rather than serving the Lord, you know what I'm saying? They'll rather put us to death rather than serving the Lord. But it is our job, it is our duty to be diligent in keeping the laws of the Most High. When it's time to come, when it's time to celebrate the feast days of the Lord, don't make excuses. If you can, make your way if you can, make sure that you make your way to wherever you got to go to celebrate the feast days of the Lord. Because 9 times out of 10, the Lord is looking at your actions. You saying you are Israelite, you saying you a Jew. But by your actions, are you a Gentile? Are you one with the Greeks? Are you one with Esau? Or are you one with the children of Israel? Do you keep my laws? Do you keep my commandments? You know what I'm saying? This is our heritage, our culture, and our customs, and this is what we have to keep. Read on.
Verse 62. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
Many in the children of Israel, men and women, they said, look, no, we're not eating the unclean foods. We're not eating pork. We're not eating crab, shrimp, lobster, scallop, oyster, clam, mussel, catfish. We're not eating no abominable thing. We're not eating duck. We're not eating none of that. We sticking to the dietary law, Leviticus chapter 11. We sticking to that. We not forsaking the commandments of the Most High just to be one with you, just to be friends with you, just to be loved by you. You know what I'm saying? We're not forsaking the commandments. We're not forsaking our heritage, but we're going to stick to the commandments of the Lord. The next verse.
Verse 63. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died.
So these men and women, they chose to die, you know what I'm saying, than to fold or give up or be weak. You know what I'm saying? They consent to the Greek religions by worshiping their false gods and their idols. You know what I'm saying? Give me Psalms 96:5. Yeah, Psalm 96:5 real quick. Psalms 96:5, and then Psalms 97:7. Psalms right here. Yeah, I gotta go see. Forward. Forward.
Roman numerals.
Yeah, all right. All right, so right here. Right here is 96,
and
verse
5.
5, and then 97, verse 7 right here.
Come. Psalms 96, verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heathens.
It's like in the heavens.
The
Read it again.
heavens.
Read it again.
Come. Psalms 96, verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens.
You know what I'm saying? The gods of the other nations, they're idols, but Yahweh has made the heavens and the earth. You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep our heritage, our customs. The laws of the Lord should never leave our mouths, should never leave our minds. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep the commandments of the Most High, because the commandments of the Lord can make us perfect. It can change from it can change a wicked man and a wicked woman to a righteous man and a righteous woman in the eyes of the Lord, because we're striving to, you know what I'm saying, make our bodies a living sacrifice unto Yahweh, keeping His law, statutes, and His commandments, which is our heritage. Jump down to 97 verse 7.
Come. Psalms 97, verse 7. Confounded be all that serve graven images, that boast themselves of idols. Worship him, all ye gods.
Those who celebrate American holidays, look, when all hell breaks loose and you trying to pray to your God, but you don't get no answer, look, you're going to be confounded, you're going to be confused, and the Lord is going to laugh. Like, He's literally going to laugh at you. You know what I'm saying? He's going to laugh at you, right? The gods of the other nations are idols, but we serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Maccabees chapter 10.
First Maccabees.
Second Maccabees chapter 10. Second Maccabees chapter 10, verse 1. Second Maccabees chapter 10, verse 1.
Come.
Got it.
Second Maccabees chapter 10, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Now Maccabeus and his company, Yahweh guiding them, recovered temple in the city.
Go ahead.
Verse 2. But the altars which the heathen had built in the open street, and also the chapels they pulled down.
Now, Slakia. So now Maccabees, right, and his brothers in the children of Israel, they then basically overthrew the Greek Empire, right? They then overthrew the army. And now they about to go and clean up the temple. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And having cleansed the temple, they made another altar, and striking stones, they took fire out of them, and offered a sacrifice after 2 years, and set forth incense and lights and shewbread.
So now basically, right, they cleaned the temple. They cleaned the temple. The altar, they cleaned the temple. They made an altar. They sacrificed unto the Lord, right, for 2 years. And then when they sacrificed unto the Lord for 2 years, they lit up incense when they were doing this as well. And they ate showbread as well, the bread that the Levite priests would eat. Now, Judas Maccabees, he was a Levite. Mattathias' grandfather was Simon, and Simon was one of the sons of Joarib, and Joarib was a Levite priest. Now, Simon is Mattathias' grandfather, right? So Mattathias is from the tribe of Levi, the tribe that has the priesthood to serve the Lord, right? Same thing goes for Judas Maccabees from the tribe of Levi. Next verse.
Come.
4.
Verse 4. When that was done, they fell flat down and besought Yahweh that they might come no more into such troubles. But if they sin any more against him, that he himself would chasten them with mercy, and that they might not be delivered unto the blasphemous and barbarous nations.
So, you know what I'm saying? Judas Maccabees, right? He said he prayed into the Most High. That he prayed into the Most High, right? And he told the Most High that, have mercy on us. That we're not going to sin against you anymore because we don't want heathens to come and kill us off, slaughter us, and defile the temple by making, altars and false gods, right? And pitting them around Jerusalem. We're not going to sin anymore, right? So that's what the prayer was about. That Judas Maccabees and the rest of the children of Israel were praying unto the Most High Yahweh. Verse 5.
Verse 5. Now upon the same day that the strangers profaned the temple, on the very same day it was cleansed again, even the 25th day of the same month, which is Caslu.
Right. So you know what I'm saying? The temple that was profaned, the temple that was polluted, that was defiled, that was treated as nothing by the Greeks, by the heathens, right? Judas Maccabees and the children of Israel, they cleaned up the temple that same day, right? After they then destroyed the majority of the Greek army. Next verse. On the 25th day, right? Of the 9th month. Go ahead, next verse. 6.
Verse 6. And they kept 8 days with gladness in the feast of the tabernacles, remembering that not long of the tabernacles, before they had held feast of the tabernacles, when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts.
Right. So we kept, you know what I'm saying, and they kept 8 days with it. So basically, yeah, even the Feast of Tabernacles is an 8-day feast, right? That's an 8-day feast. So just like Judas Maccabees and his brothers, they kept the Feast of Tabernacles. We got to keep the Feast of Tabernacles every feast day of the Lord. We have to keep the Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of Purim, Feast of Fruits. You know what I'm saying? Memorial to blowing the trumpets, the Day of Atonement, right? We got to keep all of these feast days. Why? Because if we claim that we love the Lord, then we got to prove it with our actions. Next verse.
They are also like those days of the whole nation of Jews.
So every year they decreed. So Judas Maccabees and the army of Israel, they made it a law that on 25th day of the 9th month is when, you know what I'm saying, the Greek Antiochus was destroyed, right? Want to keep the feast of dedication, right? We are rededicating the altar and the temple back unto the Lord that these nasty Greeks then polluted and defiled. Right?
Verse 9. And this was the end of Antiochus called Phineas. Verse 10. And we declare the acts of Antiochus Ephator, who was a man, gathering briefly the calamities of the wars.
So now we didn't destroy them, right? We destroyed them. There's nothing that they could do. We rededicated the altar back into the Most High power Yahweh. Now get John 8:31. Joshua chapter 8:31. Joshua 8:31.
11.
The Old Testament. Alright, you see I'm over there. Go ahead.
At the moment. This is it.
Uh,
When Joshua commanded the children of Israel in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones, or will man have lift up any iron, and they offered thereon burnt offerings unto Yahweh and sacrificed peace offerings.
32.
Verse 32. And he wrote there upon the stone of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel.
So now we have to keep the laws, statutes, and the commandments, right? These customs, which are the commandments of the Most High, these are our customs and our heritage. This should not leave our minds. It should not leave us. We should apply the customs of the commandments, right? Now, man, I'm going to end it right here. End it right here. I'm going to say, Yasha Allah, Yahweh. He said that when we're in the kingdom with him, he's going to drink wine with us again. So, La Yasha Allah.
Yashallah.
So you go right there. I'm gonna blow the ram song. We're gonna send a prayer again. Abanawa.
Abanawa.
Shabbat Shemayim.
Shabbat Shemayim.
Kwadash.
Kwadash.
Hayat.
Hayah.
Shimka.
Shimka.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Malakwatka.
Malakwatka.
Taba'ah.
Taba'ah.
Ratazaka.
Ratazaka.
Hayat.
Hayah.
Aisha.
Aisha.
Ba'arat.
Ba'aratazah.
Kawa.
Kawa.
Hayat.
Hayah.
Bashemayim.
Bashemayim.
Nathan Lanawa.
Nathan Lanawa.
Lakam.
Lakam.
Kal.
Kal.
Yawam.
Lawim.
Wasalak Lanawa.
Wasalak Lanawa.
Kaweb Wathnawa.
Kaweb Wafnawa.
Kasalak Nawa.
Kasalak Nawa.
Kaweb Wathyanawa.
Kaweb Waf Yanawa.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Tabiya'a Nawa.
Tabiya'a Nawa.
Banasaya Wan.
Asayuman.
Abal.
Abal.
Hawashai Nawa.
Hawash.
Yen Rai.
Mayin Rai.
Kayalaka.
Kayalaka.
Hamalak Wath.
Hamalak Wath.
Waha Allah.
Waha Allah.
Wahatha Apa'arath.
Wahata Apa Avrat.
La'ai Walamiyam.
La'ai Wanayum.
Aman.
Aman.
Asha'a.
Sha'a.
Ayenya.
Ayenya. Al.
Aharyam.
Aharyam.
Ma'ayan.
Ayam.
Yaba'a.
Yaba'a.
Isaiah.
Azarya.
Isaiah.
Azarya.
Ma'ain.
Ma'ain.
Yahwa.
Yahweh.
Aisha.
Aisha.
Shemayim.
Shemayim.
Wa'aratazah.
Wa'aratazah.
El Yathan.
El Yatan.
Lamawat.
Lamawet.
Regelka.
Ragelka.
El Yanawim.
El Yanawim.
Shamarka.
Shamarka.
Hana.
Hana.
La'a.
La'a.
Yanawim.
Yanawim.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Yayashan.
Yanyashan.
Shawamar.
Shawamor.
Yasha Allah.
Yasha Allah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shamarka.
Shamarka.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Tazelka.
Tazelka.
El Yad.
El Yad.
Yamyinka.
Yinka.
Hawamim.
Hawamem,
Hashemash,
Hashemash,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Yakaka,
Yakaka,
Wayarak,
Yawarak,
Walayala,
Walayala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Shamarka,
Shamarka,
Makelrai,
Yakelrai,
Yashamar,
Yashamor,
Ethnapeshka,
Ethnapeshka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamar,
Yashamor,
Taza'athka,
Tazaetka,
Wabawaaka,
Wabawaaka,
Ma'aitha,
Ma'aita,
Wa'id,
Wa'id,
Hawalam,
Hawalim,
Aman, Shema Yasha Allah,
Shema Yasha
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allahayanawa,
Allahayanawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Aka,
Aka, Shemai,
Yasha Allah,
Yasha Allah,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allahayanawa,
Allahayanawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Akkad,
Akkad,
Shemai,
Shemai,
Yasha Allah,
Yasha Allah,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allahayanawa,
Allahayanawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Akkad.
Akkad. What's it say?